So she's an inspiration, I find, because she wasn't aggressive, or I mean, sure, she got mad, she was human, but her love for the good things was always bigger than all the bad things that happened. Hi.
Hi, Joanna and Lynn. So lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you too.
You have a very exciting project that you are working on. Tell me about that.
We planned this. No.
We planned this.
Start.
All right, I'll start. Okay. We are doing a show called Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. It's a musical and theatre piece. And for those who don't know, Lady Day was the nickname for Billie Holiday. So we are doing a show about Billie Holiday.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
This is Billie Holiday. Yes.
And
Billie Holiday.
And how did you come up with this idea?
Well, because of the pandemic, you know, I work a lot at Theater Drachengass, and because of the pandemic, they said they specifically requested because I always do a show at this time there every year, and they specifically asked me or recommended me to look for a show with a small cast because the pandemic was going on and we didn't know how this whole thing was going to develop. And then I scoured the internet for shows that sung to my heart. And it wasn't that easy because I've done a lot of the small cast, the really great small cast shows. I've actually done a lot of them already. Lynn actually has already been in one as well, Disgraced by Ayad Akhtar. And then I happened upon, I think through Playbill, I happened upon this show and fell in love immediately. I mean, really a deep, 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 deep love. You know, I like shows that talk about struggles of other people. I like shows that talk about diversity or race, politics, psychological topics as well, moral issues. Those are the kind, but are also at the same time funny and beautiful. So it's not all just sort of drudge and the life is so terrible and we should all slit our wrists tomorrow. I don't like to do that kind of thing. I like to do plays that are also in some way hopeful and show the strength of people as well in particular. And I found this one and I applied for the rights. Took me 4 months to get all the rights, but I persisted. I had a few hurdles along the way, but I never gave up. And then in September, I got the final go-ahead for the music and for the play. And then I started it off,
And Lynn, Lynn, how did you arrive on the scene?
Well, like Joanna mentioned, we worked together once before. That was 7 years ago. Yeah. And I was in Berlin when she called. And I had already heard through mutual friends that, you know, it's that maybe if I felt like it, I could do it, but, you know, I wasn't sure. And so then Joanna called and said, well, I have this really great piece. It's about Billie Holiday. And we open in about 5 weeks.
Wow.
Would you be willing to come to Vienna for that? And I was like, I hadn't worked in 2 years. So I was like, and then something like this, it was like, it was worth the wait. And I'm there and here I am. And week three.
Or is it 4 already now?
Yeah, we're in the final week now.
We're in the final week, yeah. So we open on Monday next week on the 14th of February. I mean, the thing was, the other thing was, is even though I got the rights in September, I mean, really up until January, I had no, I mean, it's even still on a you know, because of the pandemic, on a week to week, on a day to day basis almost, that we don't know from one day to the next, whether either the government won't, you know, suddenly stop us and close everything down again, or whether illness won't stop the whole thing, you know, exactly. So I really didn't know until January whether this was even going to be able to go ahead or not. And it was always sort of on tender hooks and sort of waiting. And then finally it seemed, yes, it's really a go now, and now we can do it. And that's when Lynn kind of joined
And we've been just nose to the ground, and
Nose to the
that's
ground.
our goal. It's a lot. And
To know now, I wanted to ask Lynn. So you are based in Berlin.
Yes. We did a piece together 7 years ago by Ayad Akhtar, and it was called Disgraced. So we've known each other. Well, we knew each other before that too. So we've known each other. Wait a minute, let me think. 11 years.
Wow.
Yes. 11 years.
Since you were 3.
Since we were 3. Make it 23.
Okay, 23.
Yeah. So we have worked together before. And so when she called and asked if I wanted to do this amazing piece in a very short time, I said yes. Yeah.
But are you from America?
Yes, I'm American, but I was born in Berlin and I grew up there. So that's why I'm also very close to the city of Berlin, because that's my home.
But now tell me about this piece, please.
It's beautiful. It's very deeply moving. Isn't it? And I see we're already going to tear up.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start.
I mean, the thing that's extraordinary about for me, the thing that was extraordinary about it was actually I mean, I know this sounds really, really silly, but you know, I remember Billie Holiday in 9.5 Weeks. Remember that film with Kim Basinger and whoever that actor was. I mean, I remember the very first time I heard Billie Holiday was in that very cheesy Hollywood movie, and I thought her fantastic, and I immediately went out and bought an album of hers. But I never really knew her story, and a lot of people don't really. I mean, it's been in the press recently more because the film came out, Billie Holiday versus the United States of America. So there's been more buzz, I suppose, about her. But mostly people have always associated her, you know, with sort of the desperate artist that turned to drugs and bad men in her life, and that was her story, and that's
reduced to that.
Yeah,
she's been
yes,
reduced to
absolutely.
The headlines.
The headlines, exactly.
Yeah.
But she is. But I already knew, reading the piece, or when I heard about the piece, I knew where this was going to go, and then discovering it through the research we did, through learning a lot about Billie Holiday, listening to her interviews, reading the stories about her, reading interviews, reading articles about her, and books and so on. She was an incredible trailblazer who really paved the way for a lot of Black artists and really opened up the pop industry to a certain extent. She's almost the original queen of pop.
Yeah.
In American history, not just in Black American history, but in American history at all. You know, she wrote her own songs. She sang her own songs that she wrote. She worked with incredible artists. I'm sure I would like to give over to Lynn. To tell the story a little bit.
What I've gotten from her working on this piece is how deep her soul was. She was a big bundle of love who had very, very difficult things happen to her early on in life and then continuously. But her passion for her music and her love for people and life was bigger than any pain that she went through, which is why she continued on. I mean, there are points where I think, how can she even go on stage right now? Which is kind of the premise of the piece. You know, it's remembering your life in front of people who know you either personally or through the press, because that happened a lot too. So she's an inspiration, I find, because she wasn't aggressive, or I mean, sure, she got mad, she was human, but her love for the good things was always bigger than all the bad things that happened to her. That's it.
That's a very nice, said that beautifully.
I've been looking for that for 3 weeks now.
That's really.
But sorry, go on.
No, and I mean, telling the story, do you really, can you, in a way that you say that you understand and or think about it, do you think it's so important for you to understand the story, you know, to play her?
Yes, I think, well, first of all, as an actress, it's just very important to understand and also love the character that you're playing, so that you can tell their story the most truthful way you can through their mouths. And as for me, being African American, but also Filipino, but there's that African American side. And even though I grew up in Berlin, my father told me a lot of stories from the 30s. My grandfather did, my great grandmother did. And these are things that are very parallel to the things that she talks about, because that was the time of segregation and, you know, America being in a big struggle as far as trying to find out what the United States of America really means, because it wasn't. And that was very difficult, definitely for one side of America, if you want to talk sides. But there's so many parallel stories going on in the States at that time, but we get to hear this side, something like that.
And I think the other thing that's, you know, even if you separated away the color, but the color is also makes her so phenomenal. She was the first Black woman to travel and tour across America at the age of 18. Was it with an all-white band?
Through the South.
Through the South as well. I mean, she started up in Boston, and they wouldn't even let her eat in the restaurants that they played in. I mean, things like, but she did it, and she was only 18 at the time. And she'd got this because, you know, she had things like, you know, terrible abuse as a child. She flunked school. She ended up in prostitution because that was the only way she was going to make money. And then she got up, she literally, I mean, this is a woman who had so get up and go, you know, really, today is a new day. Let's see what today brings. And she got up and she went, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be that person. I don't like this situation.
I want to sing.
I'm going to walk down the streets of, was it New York?
New York.
And I'm going to find somewhere who's going to take me on. And then she saw a sign for a dance. They were looking for dancers. And that's how her career took off, but not because she danced. And we can't tell you anymore.
No, exactly.
Otherwise we giving too much of her story away. But this is the most phenomenal thing about her. First of all, as a woman, because we know that women already in that time period were having troubles, right, with gender equality anyway, despite any of the other. And then you add on top of that, of course, the racial conflict that she was going through.
And the poverty.
I mean,
there's all these, and
so
yet
things.
There was one thing that drove her, and that was wanting to sing. It was bigger than everything. And that's phenomenal to me, you know, that you can be in situations that seem futile, but yet you don't even think about that. It's like, well, this is where I am, but I want to sing, period.
Yeah.
Right? That was it, basically.
That was it. And the most amazing thing, though, is then, so you think, okay, so there's racial issues, there's gender issues. And then what do you add on top of that? You add on top of that the fact that the government doesn't want you to be doing what you're doing. And you get chased and hounded by the FBI. Just in the same way, I mean, things were being done to her by the FBI and by the government before Martin Luther King, while Martin Luther King was still in nappies almost, kind of thing, you know, as a woman, that no one knows this story about Billie Holiday, or very few people, that she was literally hounded and pursued relentlessly by the FBI, who were just desperate to a certain extent to take her down because she didn't fit.
Well, her voice was also getting to them.
Yeah.
They didn't like that she had a voice because she was on stage and she had
popular.
her opinions, and people listened, and the government didn't like that. There was too much power for a Black woman back then. It just was, no.
And the other thing that she did is she didn't portray the right type of Black woman, because the right type of Black woman was potentially big, or was a housemaid, or worked in the cotton fields, or in a factory. And here was this stunning, beautifully dressed, powerful voice.
Powerful voice.
Who stood on stage, and she says that, you know, mostly when singers used to sing in the bands back in the day, the singers weren't that important. It was the band that was important. And she made the singer important as a Black person. And she just didn't fit the model,
right?
And the shoe, she didn't fit into the shoe that the white population, or some of the white population, wanted to put her in.
She didn't let them.
She broke the mold.
Even though she knew it could get her into trouble, or it could mean that she doesn't work, but she did it anyway because she was,
Yeah.
But now,
I think for us, I think it's true to say for us as women, it's fascinating to understand how, despite everything that was thrown at her, as a woman even, she just lifted up that banner and said, I'm going to sing. You can do what you want. I'm going to get out there on a stage and sing. You can lock me away. You can beat me up. You can do whatever you want. And she did. Amazing.
but isn't it wonderful that art can now tell this story, you know, because you think all the papers, and like you say, she got press that wasn't probably also not good press for her because of things that she did. But here you can come and you can tell the story through art that is the real sincere story.
Yes, that's what's so beautiful about it, because it's basically she's giving a concert and then she just tells a couple of stories, and that's where you learn so much about her. And because so many people love her voice because it touches something in them, because it's everything. It's beautiful, it's sad, it's strong, it's so many things, and it moves people, and people don't even know why. But then when you learn more about her, you're like, that's why. You know, that's what's so amazing about it. The music is even more beautiful now.
Yes,
because you know that.
Yes, definitely. We are moved to tears.
We're always crying
in every rehearsal.
You give me goosebumps when you talk about her like that, because it's you know, I also never knew her story.
It's incredible. It really is. It really, really is incredible. And what happens through the piece, as Lynn said, is, you know, the premise of the piece is that she's giving a concert. It's actually, this concert takes place in the last year of her life. Okay, she died at quite a young age. It's not a spoiler to say that, she died at 44 in 1959, and this show takes place in 1959, and she's supposed to be giving a concert, which she does, and it's all prepared. No, and then and then she starts talking. And she starts talking between the songs, and the whole thing is interwoven between these beautiful songs that she sings, very deeply moving, and then her very deeply moving stories as well. And you can find out, and I have to say, Lynn has been phenomenal. It's a lot. She's had to. It's a one-woman show. We have a band behind her. We have three wonderful musicians on stage. We have a pianist, bass player, and drums on stage accompanying Billy. And they are really fantastic. And and I don't, what was that? I don't know. I'm just really moved by what I just said.
But Lynn, were you a fan before of Billy?
I was not a big fan in the sense of, I have to be honest, when I listened to jazz, I listened to Ella Fitzgerald. But and I think I know why, because Billy made me sad. And when I was younger, my dad listened to her a lot. And I just remember her voice made me so sad. And I've always been very tenderhearted anyway. So it's not that I didn't like it. It just went too deep when I was younger. And then I sort of forgot about it. But now I'm realizing, that's in there too. Man, that woman. Right?
But totally. Yeah. And the thing, I mean, the struggle of any actor, I mean, this is the most amazing thing about doing a piece like this, actually, because it's, first of all, when it touches on your own history because of your background, right? it touches you, it's even more moving because it, you know, there are things you can't hide from because they're in your soul, because you've experienced them. You've experienced racism. You know, Lynn, I'm sure that's okay to say, has experiences racism in modern times. It's not like, you know, it suddenly happened in 1959 and then it was all over and done with.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it still goes on. So it touches you personally deeply. So that's emotional to have to deal with as a human being. And then just the emotional work of getting the character is really tough, because you're dealing with some really difficult experiences.
Yeah, and you have to go there to find it. And I noticed one time we stumbled through the piece. I was still very much on book. And we wanted to do something else after that. And we both looked at each other. We were exhausted. Because, I mean, it's not even really that long, but there's so much in there. And you go through all these, you know, peaks and valleys with this woman's life. And after that, you're, it's like, ooh, I need a nap. It's really, I never experienced anything like that before, I must say. But then,
I mean, the whole show is about an hour. It probably, when the audience are in there, it's going to be an hour and 20 minutes roughly of a roller coaster ride of beauty, laughter, tears, wonderful emotions, beautiful singing. And with Lynn playing Billy, she really epitomizes it very, 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 very lovingly. And very honestly as well. There are no bells. What do you call it? Bells. What do you call that? Bells and sparkles. What's that term?
Bells and sparkles.
You know what I mean, though, don't you? Anyway, there's no schnick-schnack. It is really honest and very pure. And yeah, it's just this 1 hour 15, 1 hour 20 minutes of a ride with Billy and learning her story, listening to her beautiful songs, and the songs interweave and always make sense of what she's saying at the time and so on. And then these phenomenal musicians we have playing with us, and they're really, really, really great. So I think we are intending to make people walk out of that theatre being deeply moved, deeply understanding and appreciative, and deeply moved.
It's the thing that happened to us, to say, okay, I've heard her sing, but now, wow, now I really hear her sing, because you know more about her.
Yeah. And I think what I find now also interesting is that because of all these, you know, we talk about the pandemic a lot and all the restrictions and all the bad things or sad things, but now this piece you found because you had to look for something that had a smaller cast. And so you found this piece, and now it is to think that maybe you wouldn't have been looking for it, you know, and now you found it, and it's
so true.
That's
and because
really
of this
beautiful,
situation,
way of looking at it.
yeah,
you know, it really is. No, that's absolutely true. Because I wouldn't probably have looked for it.
Yeah,
and actually, it was quite difficult to get hold of to begin with. I mean, it wasn't plain sailing at the get-go. Initially, I was given a no, but I'm not very good at accepting no's. And luckily, eventually, they said yes. But I was just so. It was, as you say, it was such a privilege to be able to do. And now, even more so now, having worked on the piece with Lynn, I realise the absolute privilege of getting to do this piece. Really, it's an absolute privilege to work on this woman.
And I also, at this point, I have such the utmost respect for Billie Holiday, and I said I assume she's up there, that I will do my best to honor her story and show her strength and her love and her beauty. That's all I can do.
That's beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's part of the beauty.
But you know, I wonder also if audiences are not also ready now, because I mean, we've gone not even to compare what she has gone through, but I think we've all come to strip down a little bit and think differently about things. And I wonder if we are not ready for things like this, you know, to really understand and to really go into depth into that sort of thing, trying to understand people, because we have been in the past year and so been confronted also by the fact that people are so important. You know, it's like we think about the things we lost, but when we think of people and companionship and being together, I think we've realized that this is what is really important in life, and maybe this is also a good time to have a piece like that where we think about that. You know, think about each other, think about, like you say, these issues like race, like gender, like
humanity,
all the differences.
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? Because we've been through a time where we're so isolated, and I think we've also realized how important relationships and friends and family and people are.
I mean, yeah, I think you're really, really right, Petra. And I mean, you know, we've done, you know, the play that I worked on with Lynn was already very emotional back then. I mean, it's a deeply moving and beautiful play. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
But this one somehow has touched me very differently. I mean, I felt much more personally, emotionally touched by it. Maybe because it's also a woman's struggle. Maybe that's
it's
part
one
of the story,
person,
and it's one person,
and it's so concentrated on one person that it's just intense.
Yes, it is. It's she's on stage and she does her thing, and it's very intense, very funny also, very moving, very sad also, very beautiful. It just does the whole. I think it does actually. Getting back to what you were saying, it does the whole gamut of all the emotions I think we've been through in the last 2 years,
and also what everybody just goes through. You know, it's the most human thing in the world to have this gamut of emotions. Except with her, it was just times 1,000, every single one of them. That's the thing. She was magnified.
Yeah.
She was magnified.
Well, I after 300 and what interviews with artists, I can tell you now that I can completely understand that she had that drive because of her talent and her passion to sing and do it. And I think this is why these artist stories are so interesting, because I think you as artists have a different way of looking at life and a different way of going through life, and it's motivational and inspirational. And here it is again, it's a story about an artist who has gone through all these things, and it's an inspirational story.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Proves my point. We should listen to artists.
No, but yes, because
Really?
you know, there are a number of times that we could have given up to a certain extent. You know, already at the first hurdle, I could have said, "Okay, I'll accept your no." And
we don't do that.
But we don't do that.
Our artists aren't like that. I don't know what that is, and I'm so grateful for it too, because especially in the pandemic, so I realized what a blessing it was to be a creative brain. Even though I was in lockdown and in quarantine sometimes, but my brain didn't stop, you know, so there was always something creating up there, and you get creative with survival too.
Yeah.
You figure out another way to fill your day, because we're creative. We improvise. That's what we do.
And we have improvised a lot.
Well,
Lynn's amazing, really. You have.
I tell this story a lot, but what my memory is from the photographs that I took in the windows of the artists was that we would have a conversation about the situation and about the concerts that's been cancelled and whatever. But the moment I asked him to go in the window so that I can take the picture, it's like somebody put a switch on, you know, it's like it's a totally different energy that I got from them, and so uplifting and just so wonderful. And I just, that really fascinated me. And I think that was the thing that really drove me to carry on as well, is that the energy that I got from artists in their windows, you know, it was that totally in that little frame, it was then the artist that I saw. And I think that is amazing. And this is why I think the world should learn from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And why it is so important, art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
And as you said, Petra, you know, we're able through art to tell the story and explain not just the on the surface stuff, but the real truth behind who this woman was.
Yeah.
And through art and through this amazing script that Lani Robertson thankfully wrote, you know, we are able to portray a much misunderstood, brilliant woman.
Yes.
I mean, brilliant. What she was doing at the age of 24 in 1930s was incredible.
But that's what's so, because we were talking about this, and I was talking about the parallels in my family. I have so many people in my family that were maybe not artists, but just as driven, because it's this, the option is to give up. So we have a wall that's pushing against us, but the option would be just to stop. But that's not an option, is it? And I remember asking my grandmother, I love this, Bibi, bless her heart. She lived to 102. And I always said, Bibi, why are you always laughing so much? Because she has been through it. I mean, 102. She was born in 1919. And she said, baby, the reason I laugh so much is because the option isn't an option. And I thought that was the funniest thing, but I really get that now. You know, more as you get older, you go through things and, you know, experience loss or hardships and things like that. It's like you can't give up. That's new day, like Billy said.
Yes,
new day.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And can you just imagine that she went on stage and probably there in that moment, she was there in the place that she was the happiest, you know, and then everything else was just not relevant anymore.
No, and you do forget when you work. It's just like when we're rehearsing, you know, you're so in it and all of a sudden, oh, we're in Vienna. Okay. we're not in Philadelphia.
It's 4:00 in the afternoon already.
It's 2022.
Really.
That happens.
No, it does. Yeah, when I get into the rehearsal space, I forget I have a family. I forget I have a home, a car. I forget that I'm going on holiday in 2 days. I'm not, luckily not at the moment. I forget everything, and the only focus is on the work.
And it really is a zone you're in, and it's great. It really is.
It's so,
and it's a break from, mask, and you know, because that's just constant for everybody right now, and it is a stress factor. And I think we're doing pretty well considering, because it's, you know, some people really are freaking out.
Well, how wonderful that you can do this, and that you can have this script to work on and tell the story. I think that is so wonderful that you did that, or that you chose that piece and so on, and also to be on stage.
Yes,
we're excited. I'm not going to be on stage, but she is. I'm excited.
But you're with it. But you are emotionally attached to it because it's your piece.
Yes, of course. Oh, absolutely.
It's our baby.
It's our baby. Yeah. Yes. Now, I tend to get a little bit overly emotionally attached to my pieces. I have to say, I delve into all the emotions that all the actors go through personally, very, very much so. But
that's why you're so tired.
That's why I'm so tired.
So we're equally tired.
We're equally tired
but happy.
Because it's really, really important with all these pieces that the Vienna Theatre Project does, and especially then with this piece. It's really important to honor and respect the people that you are representing, because these are real human beings, you know, and unfortunately, in a number of cases, people don't see them as real human beings. They want to treat them differently. That's why they have the stories they have, right? And it's to respect the power and the talent and the intellect, the intelligence, the beauty, the stories of these really amazing people. We often talk, Lynn often talks about, you know, we need to write the stories of our families down.
Always.
So that we don't
Those are the best
them.
Stories. Don't forget them. Write them down. Get them where you can. You know, because it's part of you too.
Yeah.
And that makes you richer. And I think that's why stories like this one are so beautiful, because it's human. It's a human story, actually.
Yes, it is a human story.
It's a human story, period. She just happened to sing and be a woman who was African American in the time that she was alive in the United States. But she was a human.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds amazing, and I think you are doing justice to the story, because I just see your passion for it and your excitement about it, and that is wonderful. It puts me a little bit on a high. I love it. Yesterday I spoke to a guy who's an organ builder, and he was just as enthusiastic and passionate about his job, in such a way that I felt I wish I could go and polish an organ pipe, but because he was just so enthusiastic. Now, it's the same you doing to me now. I want to be on stage now. I wish I could.
Well, you can come and watch us at East Petra. You must make sure you come and watch us.
Yes, come.
So amazing, yeah. So
really.
Give me the dates now and the when you will be performing this.
We open on the 14th of February, which is Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And then we perform until Saturday. And then we have Sunday and Monday off, right?
Yeah.
And then Monday through the next Saturday. So
Tuesday.
The 14th.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2
Tuesday.
weeks.
Yeah.
Exactly. Amazing. So everybody
so
can come, have a chance to come and see. And are there any rules and restrictions, and what are the?
Yes, there are. You have, at the moment, everything's changing again on a day-to-day basis. So anybody who wants to order a ticket, but the best thing to do is do it online.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the process online, call up the theatre, because they've got great staff on the box office who are more than willing to help you out in case you have any on. But it's very, very simple. They have their own online ticketing system now. And I believe on the online ticketing system, it tells you what the regulations are on that day.
It's all there. Yeah.
It's all there. But at the moment, it's 2G. Everyone has to wear a mask in the theatre to protect each other. There are also disinfectant dispensers around the place, so that if you feel the need to disinfect your hands at any time, you can do. The bar in the theatre will be open. There's also a bar across the way that's open, and there's a passageway in between with no cars where you can stand around outside if you want to, if you would rather stand outside and have a drink before or after the show. During the show, yes, masks must be worn at all times. Other than that, I know, I do, don't I?
But ladies, I want
14th to the 26th of February in Theater Drachengass, and it's www.drachengasse.at. And you can get to the website there. You can get to they've got a link on their ticketing page to the actual ticketing page, because it's a little bit separate. You can book online. It's super easy. You can call them. That's also super easy.
That's easy.
It starts at 7:30 in the evening. It's anything from an hour and 10 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes, I would say, long, depending on, because there is audience interaction as well. She doesn't just stand on stage and stare up at the gods. She talks to her audience. So
don't put pictures in there.
But no, she does. No, it is beautiful. It's very encompassing. It's very
exciting.
human. It's beautiful. It's exciting. Bring a tissue. Be prepared to laugh.
See, pressure. Don't say that.
That's all right. I won't.
Bring a tissue.
I'm going to bring the whole packet.
It's for her.
It's for me. Bring it to me, because I'm going to be at the back saying, "Oh, this is so beautiful! Oh, I'm so grateful."
Oh,
no, but really, do. It's such a blessing to be able to do this at this moment in time, and I'm deeply grateful to Lynn and to the musicians.
And I'm glad she asked me and trusts me with this. So
I think it's I can. Your chemistry is so amazing, but. But ladies, I want to ask you now, because I've asked everybody now to give a shout out to their favorite coffee place, because of businesses also now having to have a bit of attention from us. So do you have a favorite coffee place in the area?
I'll let her answer because I haven't been here in so long. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I have
Or a
one
restaurant.
Yeah, no, I have one that is my regular, and that's Café Coop on Tuchlauben. The great thing about Café Coop is also, if you don't want to sit inside, they do have outside heating, and under their umbrellas they have heaters.
Oh, I see.
So you can sit outside and drink coffee, and they also have heating on under the umbrellas, and they do have outside service because it's on a little square and stuff. And I just love Café Coop. It's my regular. They always reserve a seat for me. And when I walk in and there are tables with all reserved signs on them, I say, really? And they go, no, sit down. So that's cool. And the other shout out we should give, because he did actually ask us to, remember, is Café West End.
Yes.
Opposite the Westbahnhof is another beautiful old coffee house in Vienna, still with all the original decor in it. It actually used to be a spy cafe. And I think you can still go in there, leave a letter with the waiter for somebody, and they can pick it up at any given moment. And they even have an old telephone box in there and everything.
Really?
And it was recently taken over. I'm not sure by which group. I think it might be the Café Diglas group. It's been renovated. It's really lovely inside. It always was lovely inside, but now it's really lovely inside. And yeah, everyone's searching for help at the moment. All the cafe houses, they all go, you know what, go.
And Lynn, in Berlin, do you have their favorite coffee place?
Yes, I have a place. It's called Early Birds. It's around the corner from my flat. There's also one directly next to my flat. It's called Kaffee, like Berliners would say coffee. And my favorite restaurant, and my favorite restaurant is Herr Rossi, which is a Sicilian restaurant.
It's very tasty.
It was so lovely to talk to you. You've really.
Thank you. It's lovely to talk to you too.
Real pleasure. So much. It's such a wonderful program, and I wish you all the best for it. And I'm sure, really, by your energy that you have here in front of me, it sounds really amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill.
Well, have a lovely evening and a lovely and I'll hope to see you soon.
Yes, I hope to see
you
there.
at the theatre, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Joanna and Lynn.
Bye. Bye.